Hello, we are with Lauren Smith, who is the Policy Counsel for the Future of Privacy Forum. Say hello.
Hi.
All right, so we're going to talk to Lauren just briefly a little bit about her role and the future of Privacy Forum as a whole. So to start off, tell us a little bit more about the future of privacy.
So we are a DC-based think tank that serves to be an incubator of privacy ideas. It's often about building best practices or self-regulatory standards for areas where there isn't law. With emerging technologies, there's sort of a wide world of practices that might come out, and we help figure out what are some of the best practices to have when you're coming out with technologies that may not be regulated under existing law.
Excellent, excellent. So my first question is, most people don't usually think of cars and health technology as going hand in hand together, but they do in your world. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so a lot of the questions that wind up being raised by these new technologies tend to be similar across sectors. So a lot of it is about sort of notice and choice, and are people aware that this information is being collected about them? Is it being collected for reasons that they could imagine make sense given the context under which they've decided to share this data? So a lot of the questions tend to be the same. You know, cars are increasingly getting equipped with all kinds of new sensors that may collect biometric information, behavioral information, location information. And so consumers have the same questions about how that data is managed and handled there as they may for health. And obviously there's, you know, particular concerns and questions in different sectors and with different types of data, but they raise similar questions, and it means I get to work on lots of different cool topics.
So with that being said, how do you usually let consumers know about some of this data and what's being collected? I mean, do you issue reports, or how does that work?
So the sort of the car or the health app might have information in their privacy policy, in notices that you agree to when you're signing up for it. At Future Privacy Forum, a lot of what we work on is sort of getting folks on the same page, getting folks to think through these questions before rolling out an app, or as they develop an app, and making sure that different parts of a company are talking to each other. So making sure that the product design folks are at some point in touch with the legal folks and the chief privacy officers as they're building something to sort of build privacy in, to ensure that trust is sort of consistent throughout a product and sort of baked into the product before it comes out. And we work on coming up with codes or standards that companies agree to in a particular sector, that given that there may not be a regulation that they are specifically needing to follow, it gives them some rules of the road that allow them to continue innovating but not run into trouble because they didn't have a specific set of ideas or practices to adhere to.
Great. It sounds like a super, super interesting industry to be in. Yeah. So we understand that you've worked for the White House on their big data report. How did your role as a policy advisor play into that project?
Yeah, so when I first showed up, they told me that I needed to start right away because they had a big project coming up, and I didn't know what it was. But it wound up, it wound up being this sort of amazing effort to be a part of. So the president wanted one of his senior counselors to lead an effort to understand sort of the power of big data and the potential that it has to transform a lot of industries and a lot of our lives, but also some of the challenges that it may pose. So we worked on this 90-day review, meeting with people from all different sectors, from government, from health, from business, from sort of all walks of life, from academics to advocacy organizations and nonprofits, to try to get a sort of 360-degree view of the impact of big data. And then we hosted conferences in 4 places around the country to collect information. We did public comments. And then ultimately wrote this report that we think helped to serve as a really helpful guiding framework for the government and for other entities figuring out how to work with big data. And one of the biggest areas that we found where we thought big data had the biggest potential was in health, in terms of its power to transform medical research. So the White House then later launched a precision medicine initiative to sort of harness the power of big data in health. And I got to be part of all those efforts, and it was amazing. It was really transformative and really exciting to see the power of technology to change sort of the world that we're living in, which is what I've tried to get involved in.
What a super cool and exciting project to work on. Do we have any questions from any viewers at this time? Oh, good. We love hearts. So lots of interesting stuff. One last question for you. How should companies whose products may not be regulated by HIPAA or the FDA think about privacy?
Great. So HIPAA is a big law that governs health privacy. The Federal Trade Commission is actually a big agency to be aware of the work that they're doing in this space. But again, it's important to think about privacy from the beginning. So build privacy in, think about trust, look to the fair information principles, fair information practice principles that set some standards for basic things to think about with privacy when working on a new app, and make sure that communication is happening within your organization. Interact with other folks in the field who may be facing a lot of the same questions that you have, and then just think about the consumer. Think about how you can be as open as possible, create as much notice as possible, how to not be creepy. A lot of it comes down to basic practices like that. Some of these things may not have specific laws that allow you to do them or not do them, but you want to build customer trust in order to keep folks using your product, and that's one of the most important places to start.
I bet there's never a dull moment in your job, right?
Never a dull moment.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh, there's a question. Yes.
So, never a dull moment. The question is, can I get in? Can I join this? Thank you. I've been behind the camera all day. The question is, you never a dull moment in your job. What is the most exciting part of your job?
So it's just exciting to learn about new technologies that are sort of creating whole new areas of practice that we may not have been aware of, 5 years ago, let alone 20. So seeing these new cool technologies, we had a tech lab at our organization a couple weeks ago, and we basically got all of these cool new sensors and drones and wearables and VR headsets, and had a lot of DC policy folks come in and play with them. And it's just, the products are really exciting, and it's exciting for me. The reason I got into this is to because we don't necessarily have the rules as a society for how we're going to manage an advanced technology, but it's coming fast. So to me, the most exciting part is helping figure out what those rules should be in order to sort of allow the technologies to advance and create all kinds of amazing potential, but also make sure we're protecting consumers along the way.
So when we're doing surgeries on Periscope, you will figure out the privacy rules for that. All right. Was there anything else? Okay.
Oh, good. This is Jonathan, by the way. He's awesome. So. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. So appreciate it. And thanks for coming to MobCon. And thank you for watching.